Hello and Merry Christmas. My name is Tuppence. I found this file on Creative Fabrica and it is a triptych of the Nativity. Now I've never had a Nativity and I wanted to make one for myself this Christmas. So I'm going to use this varnish to help seal these pieces of wood, and I'm going to use a little bit of acrylic paint to stain it because it's quite a pale colour. Then I plan on filling in the background panels with some UV resin and creating a colourful sky that will have a stained glass effect. So first off, I want to stain the wood and change it from this very pale colour. So this is just burnt umber acrylic paint. I'm going to put a little bit on this tray and I'll add quite a lot of water to that to make a stain that is going to colour my wood. Usually I would mix this up with some vinegar rather than water, but I don't have any at the moment. And the reason I'd use vinegar normally is because it doesn't open up the pores of the wood and it dries quicker. So I've mixed in an awful lot of water, as you can see. And I'm also going to need some paper towels so that I can wipe off the paint almost as soon as I've applied it. That way I will just get some colour on the wood, but I'll still be able to see the wood grain. So I'm going to go ahead and stain all of these pieces. For this piece, however, I'm not going to colour the star. I'm going to add a different colour to that later on, so I will leave that unstained. And for the stars, I'm going to use a silver chrome marker to lay down a base. I'm going to add glitter to this later on, but for now I just want them to be a base colour of silver. So I'm going to do that to the one that is above the manger and to the little piece that will be mounted on top of it as well. Okay, the stain is now all dry and I have each of the back panels and I'm going to add some varnish onto the back of these. I want these to be super smooth because I'm going to be adding bezel tape on there. And if I try and stick that on the porous surface, it's not going to adhere very well. I'm going to end up with a lot of leaks. So I'll give this a couple of coats of a water-based acrylic varnish and let them dry. And then I can stick some bezel tape onto here and I'll be able to fill these spaces with some UV resin and create a lovely stained glass effect. Now I needed to apply some bezel tape on the back, and unfortunately this wasn't big enough to go over the whole piece in one go, and I had to overlap some of them. In hindsight, I wish I had used contact paper, something that I could have covered the whole thing in just one sheet. It did mean that I got a few wrinkles and bumps in this, which was a little bit difficult to get out, but overall it doesn't spoil the piece in the end. So I'm going to continue to stick this down, make sure that all of the holes are covered and that the tape is well stuck down onto the back and there are no gaps. I'm going to use some epoxy resin pigment dyes to colour my UV resin. I put a blob of yellow in a pot and a blob of orange, and I'm going to be working on this centre panel first. So I'll add some of the UV resin, and the brand I'm using is Limino. I'm going to mix both the yellow and that orange. I'm going to start with the yellow at the top, and this is where the star is going to be. So this is going to be the lightest colour, and I'm going to work my way down to the darkest or orange, maybe even slightly darker, and just blend the colours together. So I'm going to pop on some music and I will fast forward this and you can watch me fill this in.
In the hush of a borrowed stable room, under stars the world forgot, a weary mother, a faithful groom, held the promise prophets sought. No crown of gold, no royal throne, just hay beneath his head. Yet heaven leaned to the earth that night where the holy child was laid. Oh, light in the quiet, hope drawing near, heaven's love made small and here. In a manger low, the angels sing, peace on earth, behold the King. Light in the quiet, the darkest hour through, God with us, Emmanuel is born for you. Shepherds keeping watch by flame, heard the sky break open wide. Do not fear, the angels proclaim, go and see the promised sign. They ran through dust, through beating hearts, to where the child lay still, and wonder fell on common men as heaven met their will. Oh, light in the quiet, hope drawing near, heaven's love made small and here. In a manger low, the angels sing, peace on earth, behold the King. Light in the quiet, the darkest hour through, God with us, Emmanuel is born for you. Wise men follow distant fire across the desert night, seeking truth, a holy desire. Golden myrrh and frankincense, the tiny hands they lay, gifts for a child who'd one day bear the sins of us away. Oh, light in the quiet, the world made new, every promise ringing true. From a humble start, redemption springs, glory to God, let all earth sing. Light in the quiet, love breaking through, Christ is born, Emmanuel is here, for me and you. In the hush of that holy night, love arrived as living light.
The UV resin is all cured now, and I can take off the bezel tape. And this is the Let's Resin bezel tape, which I found doesn't leave any kind of residue. So I'm just going to peel that off. And this is why I put that varnish on the back, just so that it was easy to take off without it shredding the wood as it does so. Okay, I got a little bit of a leak, and I think you saw I did dam that by curing it a little bit with the torch. But it's a very thin piece, so I'm just going to file that off and make it nice and smooth. All that's left now is to stack them up and glue them, but I'd like to put a spacer in between them and give myself a little bit more depth. And if I'd have thought about it when I had access to the laser, I would have cut some extra pieces. But the lollipop stick fits perfectly well, so I'm going to use that. That's a little ragged where I've broken it, so I'm just going to file that nice and smooth. And then I can pop this in place. It's the right width for the outside, and it will lift up each piece as I lay it on. Now this piece is cut at the bottom. I didn't place it properly on the piece of wood, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden. This is a middle section. So I just need another piece to go here, and then when I lay this on top, it's going to give me some added depth and cast a little bit more shadow. and I think that's going to look really good. So I'm going to be using the Collal bookbinding glue to stick this together, but you could also use a wood glue or a super glue. This is going to give me a little bit of wiggle room so that I can get the placement correct, but it is also a really strong glue. So I'm just going to stick this along the outside edge and make sure that it doesn't protrude past the outside of the frame or across that window. I'll do the same with the other one. And then I'm going to leave it just for a couple of minutes so that that glue sets before I can put the other piece on top. While I'm waiting, I might as well add the spacers to the next panel, and then once they're all dry I can stack it up and glue it. There are 3 main panels and then a frame which sits alongside the inside edge. So just try and make sure that it's all lined up, and as I say, that one has a little bit cut out of the bottom, but because it's a middle panel you're not really going to see that. Just add the last one on top, and then I'll add the frame later as I want to do something more to that first. I'm going to seal the frames with several coats of the acrylic varnish so that I get a nice smooth surface, because I want to use the silver chrome pen on top of this and make it look like metal later. I glued the other 2 panels together in the same way, ensuring that the bottoms were straight so that they would stand up. Then I placed something heavy on top of them until they had dried. The centre panel has an additional star. I've already painted it silver. Now I'm going to add a little bit of varnish around the outside of the main part of the star. I'm going to leave the middle bare as there's another star to add onto that. And then I can pour on some holographic glitter. I'm going to do the same to the smaller centre part of the star. And then I can use the bookbinding glue to layer them together. I'm using this silver chrome marker to colour in the frames, and because I've used several coats of varnish on top, the surface is nice and smooth and none of the wood grain is showing through. Once I've left these to dry, I can add them to the main pieces. And that will be it. I will put some photos up. If you've liked them, please give me a thumbs up. Comment, share, subscribe if you haven't, and come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Thank you very much for watching, and Merry Christmas.
In the hush of a borrowed stable room, under stars the world forgot, a weary mother, a faithful groom, held a promise